how now we play the role of the record label. We play the role of the promoter. We play the role of, like the people a part of these projects aren't in the Twitter spaces every day selling the NFTs. Like, how do you now split that where it looks different than like in regular Web 2 setting? Like, I go by Nashville splits, right? Like if there's two people in the room writing songs, 50-50, no matter if you put one word in or whatever. And so I like to keep things really fair. And going into this, I'm so fortunate to have such a supportive team of creators and collaborators that I have, built over the past 6 years being in Nashville, and they're real like friends. And so I want the best for them. And now it's more than just about me succeeding as an artist. It's about shining light on the creators that make everything possible, whether that be a producer, an mixing engineer, a graphic designer like Devin, who created the 3D tarot card NFTs. They deserve that spotlight as well. And I see an opportunity for the blockchain to now start, tracking those careers in these creative fields that we haven't seen before.
G'day guys, and welcome to another episode of the NFT Project podcast. Today with me is Brok, as always. Jai's MIA today. But today we have a very special guest. We have Jordan, aka Tarot. She is a Web3 music artist. And today we're just going to talk to her about her experience in Web3, her projects, what she's done in the space, and I guess get her thoughts on what it is like being an independent artist in the Web3 space. So Jordan, welcome.
Even an independent female artist in the Web3 space. Even crazier.
Crazy. A unicorn. It's so nice to be here. I'm excited to talk about all things music, NFTs, Web3. It's been taking over my life over the past few months, which is crazy because I had no idea this world existed until a few months ago, really. But yeah, I'm an independent artist. I have been in Nashville for the past 6 years. I went to school at Belmont University. I studied songwriting, music business, and I've just kind of, found a home here. I'm originally from Southern California, but I definitely would say Nashville is the place where like I have really grown as a songwriter, as a musician, a producer, and have really found like my network of collaborators that have kind of gotten me to this point in my career. And so then I stumbled across Web3, and I was just super intrigued by what an NFT even was and what made it so valuable, and the potential that kind of opened the doors for music artists, right? Independent artists who don't necessarily have that backing, that funding, the team to necessarily take their career to the next step. And so I've been, doing my thing as an independent artist, right? Where you're creating the music, and you're creating the vision, and you're trying to stay on top of the algorithm, and you're trying not to lose your mind. And, it's all of that. And it gets tough, I think, to stay afloat sometimes. You can get discouraged if you put in all this work on the creative side, and then it's not really translating through all the noise that exists. And I thought, all right, what way can I now use Web3 and NFTs or whatever is out there, right, to find a way to pivot and not just go the traditional route of waiting to hit the algorithm and hope that I can reach a bunch of people, but like be really deliberate and intentional with how I reach people, and building those like core relationships in Web3 have just really inspired me to and motivated me to keep going and dream bigger and execute those visions, because now there's like a place for it to live and also be like celebrated again, like the actual creation of music and all that goes behind it. So yeah, that's the whole spiel. I can go on for days, like straight up, but yeah,
I think you're in good company here. Don't worry about that. We will have very long conversations about where the space is going.
Right.
Just to sort of continue to highlight what you said, I think it's such a great point that you've brought up, where being in the music NFT space now, not necessarily having to worry about, I mean, you still have to be on social media, but you're kind of letting your creativity speak more now in the NFT space. So
Yeah.
if you're someone that doesn't necessarily, social media doesn't speak to you in a sense, you can find a voice here in the music NFT space, and especially with how early we all are. There's
Yes.
collectors are keeping an eye out. We were just complimenting um, your tarot cards that you've dropped as well. That will, I think the utility was like +1 entry for any of the
Yeah,
headline
yeah.
shows. Yeah.
There's tiered utilities. So
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
that's a whole thing we can get into as well,
Yeah.
just like what utility means and building that as an artist. But you're totally right. Like now there's an opportunity for anybody to just be themselves, essentially, I think, and create your own market for what you're doing, whether that is building tables or writing songs or drawing paintings, like, or paintings, I guess. But yeah, yeah, I don't know. And of all ages, and you don't have to like. I can go on a Twitter space and connect with people and not have to worry about like how I visually look 24/7. And you make connections with people in a way that I think we've lost over these social media years of just constantly and like there's art within that as well, and I think that is beautiful and awesome too. But like now there's a way for people who don't necessarily love that part of being an artist, and now they can, instead of getting rid of that, like you still have to work hard for that, like being an independent artist is like being a CEO and entrepreneur essentially, and you're creating this product that you are selling to the mass public, right? And so you can't just sit in your room and write songs and hope that you're going to have a million fans. Like you got to put in the work. But now it's like, oh, I don't have to just like post on TikTok 3 times a day to get my music heard. I can actually like be creative and start creating this world and connecting ideas that I may have never thought of before because there's a place to do them. That to me is so exciting because now, like you said, we're so early on. There's no rules. We're the ones creating that rule book essentially for independent artists or any kind of artists
Yeah.
down the line to see what they can really do and how it's possible to make a living and also like set out to do however big of a career you want, whether that be just to have a modest living and like have a family, or you want to go tour the world. Like the options are endless, in my opinion.
100%. I'm really curious, Jordan, what was the thing that kind of like, what was your first experience of NFTs or Web3? Like what kind of drew you into that space?
Yeah. I think it honestly I was on TikTok and it just kept coming up on my For You page and it looked like something I was like, this looks annoying to understand, but and I was like, but I think I should like at least understand what it means. And so I looked it up on Google and then I was just curious and went down this rabbit hole where like didn't see anybody for like a couple months. Like I'm just like learning like everything straight up because I was like so intrigued by every new piece of information I came across. And to this day, I'm learning something new every day, multiple things every day. And so I think that aspect alone of just constantly learning is what really drew me into the space. Like I found this excitement every single day when I woke up to learn something new. And I think like growing up, you kind of lose that sense of, okay, like now I just got to be an expert at what I know I'm good at. And I need to do it this way and stick in this lane. And then you get to your destination that you have been dreaming about forever. But did you really experience that? Like, did you have a good time, And so, yeah,
I,
it's sparked the fire.
yeah, it is such an exciting space, and I think we've talked to that point a bunch of times where you just feel so so amazed at the new information that you learn every day. Like I was just now in a space with Mike Shinoda from Linkin Park, like Cooper Turley,
Nice.
all the guys from all the top tech and the managers of Audius,
Yeah.
just listening to them speak about music NFTs, and you're just learning from the best because they're all here learning with us at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really exciting, and I think speaking to that is just you're just so spot on, and I think like leaning into that a little bit, what through that excitement, we were talking earlier about kind of like laying out the blueprint, like how everyone in this space now, and that's why a lot of the bigger names are here, is we're all trying to lay out and figure out the blueprint, because no one's an expert. No one really knows what's going to happen, how it's going to like what's going to happen over the next decade. You obviously have a couple of projects now, or a couple of drops, essentially.
Yeah.
How did you go about figuring out your own blueprint, and what has worked for you and what hasn't, in a sense?
Yeah,
Or
absolutely. Oh my gosh, if it all worked. Can you imagine? Because I can't. But no, but that's the beautiful thing about it, though. And like I have been, I think, like personally learning too through that journey of how things are just rapidly changing, and you have to give yourself grace along the process of not like getting too ahead of yourself, but staying in that like momentum, right? And so that's kind of what sparked me dropping NFTs in the first place. Was just like it started with like learning and then being super excited about it and making all these ideas in my head of what I could do, right? And then kind of honing into what made the most sense for me, like what feels like the easiest for me and the most true to myself. And so I decided to do the February music NFT marathon, where I would drop a song that I wrote, produced, recorded, mixed in my room, like daily, basically, for the month of February, and just treated it as like this was my introduction to the space in the most vulnerable form that I could possibly be. Like, this is me showing my process as an artist, taking you into my journey, showing you what I was feeling in this exact moment, and letting that flow state of creating come through me without overthinking of all the little other bells and whistles we have to pay attention to when it comes to releasing. But taking this opportunity, it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to release like the next single, like in this single, like, no, like it was more of like, this is a song diary. And I want to see like who is my community, who's the soul tribe, essentially, right? And so I'm really, really grateful that I went on that journey with that project, because it taught me so much and has led me to where I'm at, because I had to do it real time. And I had
kind
to
of like trial by fire, in a sense. You're just like,
yes,
let's just go at it.
exactly. And then you build off of that in ways that you may have not realized you were going to do, if that makes sense. So like with the utility behind those one-on-ones from that collection, that's essentially building the foundation of this like long-term running oiled machine, or oiled run. You know what I'm trying to say, right? Sometimes my brain is just like all over the place, and so yeah, essentially that project really taught me a lot about smart contracts, about minting in general, about gas fees. It taught me about DAOs, communities, Twitter spaces, everything, right? Because I was doing it real time, I was putting myself in these rooms, or chat rooms, I guess, but like, like just putting myself in front of any opportunity to learn and do something. And that has connected me to then drop a video on Glass and experiment with doing editions versus auctions. And then like I launched my crowdfund, and that allowed me to experiment with building like a DAO-like structure for my music ongoing career when it comes to building that community and having it be like kind of like a little, it's like a artist fan club on the blockchain, essentially, right? If you're putting in layman's terms. But like, yeah, it's just so interesting. And even then, like when I'm speaking to you guys right now, like there's so much that has changed over the course of the past couple months that you have to roll with the punches. And that's something that I'm learning as an artist in the space, is how to, what is it called? Someone told me this today. It's called the sunken cost bias, right? Like where you hold on to an idea so tightly because you put so much intention, so much time, money, whatever behind it, and you feel yourself along that process kind of going into a different direction, and it might not be separate it could be something way better. And so you have to like make those hard decisions, I think, in this space, because we're so early on, of making those decisions, being firm with them, following through, but also being like open to adjust to make it better, you know, because that's what we're doing in this space essentially, is to build. And I just hope to be like, I really want to be transparent with my process, because I think there's a lot of fear that comes with being an artist, of like, I have to do things this way, and if I say this, then I have to follow through, or everyone's going to hate me, or what if they think this. But at the end of the day, like, what I found so far is people just genuinely resonate with you when you're being yourself. They're not like buying your NFTs because you're shilling in the Twitter space. They're buying your NFTs because they heard you say something that had nothing to do with NFTs or music in a Twitter space, and they connected with it, and they heard your music and connected with that. Like, that to me feels more organic, and maybe takes a little longer than getting like a viral video, but I don't know. I feel good about the potential.
You'll definitely build much stronger fan base that way.
Yeah.
That's it's from what we've seen in the space, you will always, and with Twitter Spaces and how kind of that connection is made, what we've found is the connections that we have made are just so strong, and everyone's ready to just either buy your NFT, collaborate with you, offer you free advice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel you were kind of right at the start when you're talking about how it's in essence talking via voice rather than necessarily via video or via sort of a TikTok or other kind of forms of social media, where you're looking at the person, you're forming a real connection, because all there is your voice and your truth, as you just said, that allows people to connect on that deeper level. And as you said, then they're like, okay, oh she's a singer as well. Let me just go have a peep at that music, and oh, cool, I really resonate with that as well. And you just in that whole situation, you're forming really strong bonds with those people. So it's great,
Yeah.
great to hear that you're finding that as well.
Yeah.
Can I also just commend you, Jordan, because Brock and I could sit here and like list off lists and lists and lists of artists who say they want to join the space or they want to do something like this, and they just actually never do it. They like look around on a couple websites and go, it seems too hard. But the fact that you've like gone through, you've decided
Through
on your
hell.
own, you've
A
gone
music
through the
NFT
fire.
February, like, Jesus,
Yeah.
that's so crazy.
You
Thank
literally
you.
like thrown yourself into the space,
Yeah.
and I like personally I'd say it's paid off for you. I think like what you've achieved in such a small amount of time, I think is definitely a success for you. And yeah, it's really cool to see an artist who not only backs the space but backs themselves in the space, and like reaps those rewards. So it's really cool to see.
No, I really appreciate that. Thank you. That's so sweet.
The to sort of go on to the next spot, we heard, I actually have heard you speaking in a space about your team before,
Yeah.
and how you sort of came upon doing that. Are these people that you worked with in Web 2 previously, like just through your music
Yeah.
career, and then you've just kind of like, hey guys, fucking come over here, like you're
Yeah,
coming
straight
with
up.
me,
No,
I don't
yeah.
care, shut up, like you're now working as my Web3 team. So I just wanted to hear a
Yeah.
little bit about your team and sort of how you structured them, and how they've assisted you, and then even if you care to talk about it, like how you um then spread obviously the money that you've made, I presume, through your NFT drops down to your team, or whether you paid them up front. Just talk to that as much as you care to.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a really hot question, I feel like, in the space right now, because it's just like the hard question, you know? We don't know. There's no rules on how you do this. And I was actually having a conversation with another artist in the space, and she and I were speaking about how now we play the role of the record label. We play the role of the promoter. We play the role of, like the people a part of these projects aren't in the Twitter spaces every day selling the NFTs. Like, how do you now split that where it looks different than like in regular Web 2 setting? Like, I go by Nashville splits, right? Like, if there's two people in the room writing songs, 50-50, no matter if you put one word in or whatever. And so I like to keep things really fair. And going into this, I'm so fortunate to have such a supportive team of creators and collaborators that I have, built over the past 6 years being in Nashville, and they're real like friends. And so I want the best for them. And now it's more than just about me succeeding as an artist. It's about shining light on the creators that make everything possible, whether that be a producer, an mixing engineer, a graphic designer like Devin, who created the 3D tarot card NFTs. They deserve that spotlight as well. And I see an opportunity for the blockchain to now start, tracking those careers in these creative fields that we haven't seen before. And now they're going to be able to create a career out of their craft in a way that they've never seen before. And so that is something I'm super passionate about, just because like I think that it takes a village, right? And we all got to eat together at the end of the day, or nothing's worth anything. And so now it comes to the hard part of how do we do this in the fairest ways. And so I'm still like on the fence with how I'm going to really structure everything, but I am super fortunate also to have come across this company called Reveal that I actually just started working part-time for last week as their artist relations, helping them onboard artists. And they set up revenue splits smart contracts for collaborators for this purpose. And so everything literally aligns, I feel like
what a good fit.
It's so crazy. Like one thing happens and you might think one thing goes wrong, but then this thing goes right. And yeah. And so it's great though, because that was one of my main concerns when I first started in the space. I didn't want to deal with all of that, that gets messy. So that's why I did the song by myself every day kind of a thing. And now with all this other music that I'm working on and this rollout that I intend on going on with Web 2 and Web 3, I see this opportunity to pay the creators more and quicker than you would if you were just seeing back end on Spotify streams, or paying a bunch of money up front for a video, and then what happens, now there's a way to negotiate upfront when you're making those relationships and building those projects with people. And so like my advice is that it's like going to be different for every project. For example though, like my next song that I'm dropping on the blockchain, I'm going to be dropping a one-on-one of a single before it releases in Web 2. And so I'm going to be using the Reveal split contracts, where I can then put in the 5 different collaborators plus another wallet address that would go back to the Tarot treasury from the crowdfund. So I now have a way to track where all my revenue is going versus getting that money and then splitting it off to all these different wallets and having to, and that way up front with your team, you can say, hey, like, this is the split contract for the Web 3 release. This is the split contract for the Web 2 release. I know a lot of different artists kind of view Web 3 releases as like a synchronization, so like 50% master, 50% pub. And so you can kind of mold to your own agreement, like some people like upfront, some people like back end, whatever. Like it's really up to your team. But I think now it's also up to the artist to step up to the plate and be like, all right, I'm essentially like the CEO of this, what's going on. Like I'm playing the record label here and I have to make decisions. And yeah, I'm rambling on. I hope that's like helpful, but like it's just such a confusing gray area. And I think it's just a lot of it comes down to trust and making sure you're just aligned with the right people and you figure things out, and things like go to shit all the time. Like, and you just have to pick up and sorry, I don't know how to say that. But you know how it goes. So yeah, splits though, I see in the future, like Reveal is building tools to help like accountant or be your automated accounting essentially for artists and creators, because now there's a way to track things on the blockchain. So check out Reveal. That's my pitch. But
it's kind of you hit on it there. It's such a that's why I wanted to speak about it with you, is because I knew you'd done so many multiple projects with so many other collaborators, and it is a subject that isn't brought up that much, that a lot of independent artists have to realize that it's still the Wild West. So you become automatically responsible for the thing. So you can't just go, oh yeah, I'm cool. I've got all these people on board. I'm going to make all this money. You still have to realize that there are other, people involved, other facets involved. And I love that you, thank you for speaking to that. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're here to, as I said to you at the start, the purpose of this podcast is to help other artists realize the benefits of this space.
Because if you think about it, it's just as complicated in Web 2 when it comes to collecting royalties. And now I see it as being a solution in a weird way for independent artists specifically to create more and be more bold with their choices, because there is an opportunity to get compensated and pay the people that you need to be a part of that vision. And that's something I struggle with so much. I'll just stop in my tracks because I'm like, I don't have enough money. I can't do this. And you feel guilty because you have people who are like on board wanting to create with you, but then you can't compensate them in the way that you feel they deserve. Now there's a way to do that and also progress along the way. So I don't know. I just think it boosts morale all together because money is just such a annoying topic.
Well, and especially when you add like someone into like this contract for like a percentage or something, it's almost like incentivizing them more to like want the project to do well instead of like just getting a check up front and then, okay, cool, I'm wiping my hands with it now. So I think it's really good at like getting people involved in the project and really wanting to like stick it out for the long run because they want the success for the project, which means success for them.
Exactly. It's less transactional. It's real collaboration because it takes a village, and I'm really grateful and I'm still learning as I go. It's a process, but I love it.
How have you been finding it? It does get brought up a lot, and I, as a white male in Australia, I don't really see it that much. How have you been finding it as a female artist in this space?
I mean, I feel I don't really know how to speak on it much other than like I genuinely feel fine. I feel like I'm connecting with people of all genders, races, ethnicities, everything, it has never been a personal issue for me, I would say, or in Web3, but I will say it is different than my experience in Web 2. And I don't know if it has anything to do with me being a female or like maybe my experience as I've grown, but I definitely feel like I get taken more seriously in this space than I have in the standard Web 2 music industry when I just enter a room and start speaking. I'd say. I don't know if that has to do with, honestly, maybe just like doing the marathon, like showing up every day, and it's like, what else you gotta say with that? But that's something I've learned though too. I think it goes beyond. Like I'm not trying to undermine like the issue of like women, blah blah blah, but like I am saying that I think it goes deeper than those issues that we face. I think it goes more like internally as like just an individual. What are you willing to do to get to where you want to go? And that takes hard work and that takes obstacles. We all have different obstacles. I've definitely had my fair share and I've had not so great experiences, but I've also had really great experiences. So I can't really speak too much on that.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. It's everyone I've spoken to and every experience I've had, different races, creeds, genders, has said Web3 is this magical, beautiful space where there seems to be a lot more collaboration and a lot more openness to just listen. And I think it speaks back to that there are no experts. So everyone's just ready to, instead of bringing their opinions and bringing their bias to the table, they're just like, well, someone else is speaking, so why don't we just listen for a little bit? And it's nice.
That's
to be a
very
part of
true.
Yeah.
It's very true.
Did you have any other parts of like what's the latest project you're working on now?
Yeah, so I'm working towards this project. It's my album called Wake.
Yep.
And it's just been a journey of, handling like the whole team and making sure like we got all the visuals getting ready to go and the music and like that, all this stuff. But I'm really excited because it's going to be huge. It's where I'm going to have a short film. I'm going to have a documentary. I'm really trying to go all out with this, and I am not going to hold myself too much in a box at all. Like I feel like I have in the past, where I feel like I have to stick to this timeline. I have to stick to this rollout strategy. I'm learning so much every single day on what is the best way to move. And sometimes you make a little bit of a back step or whatever, you go a little backwards and then you go a little forwards. And so right now my focus is just creating music and creating the best music I can and continuing to build in the community and sharing my story as I go to help anybody that I can as I create all of this content, I guess you can call it, to give to the world. And this summer is just going to be like a rollout of music and visuals and experiences to just really like start telling the story of tarot and who I am as an artist and what I want to be as an artist in this world. And so, I guess next steps is just finding a way to bridge the growth in Web3 in a new way in Web2, and hopefully inspire other artists that like they can do this too.
Have you had any experiences with telling maybe like your friends or like fellow artists that you have made connections with in Web2 or in real life about the Web3 industry, and like how did that kind of go?
Yeah. Okay. I don't want to brag, but usually every time every time I have a conversation with the skeptic, they always say like, I'm just gonna say like, I don't think they're cool, they're wacky, blah blah blah. I'm like, okay, it's all good, totally get it. And I give them a little spiel, right? We just have a convo. And by the end, I'm not gonna lie, 100% success rate. They are sold and they're into NFTs, and, because it's like there's just a different way to look at it than what like the general public is reading and seeing. And so, I'm also like connected to a lot of songwriters, producers, artists in town. So secretly, even if they're not saying it, they're curious. And I mean, why wouldn't you be curious to see how you could grow your career in a more organic and interesting, cool way?
Especially with your firsthand experience, I think it'd be such a sell.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it wasn't even like a crazy experience though. It wasn't like, oh, she sold out all of her NFTs in a week. Like I got backlash in that aspect. Not backlash, but people just wondering like, well, why are you continuing to release new NFTs or new projects if you didn't sell out that one? And it's because there's just different intention behind different projects. And as you go on, you learn what those intentions are and how they build off of each other, and you start to create an ecosystem rather than how do I drop this song and get 1 million plays, how do I get 1 million views or sell out my collection. Like if I needed a quick buck, sure, but I'm trying to like make a long term career that I could,
Yeah,
an international superstar.
it's kind of, it'd be like someone telling you, okay, well that song didn't do well, why release another song? And I think
exactly, that's a good one. Okay,
and you're like, well, why because I'm an artist and I want to continue to make music for the rest of my life. Sorry, everyone.
Exactly. And you still live there, and then you can go get it. Like,
Yeah.
how wonderful.
And then maybe if I eventually blow up, that one
exactly.
that you didn't want to buy 5 years ago might be something that you might be really interested in buying. So I think
That's how you have to look at it.
yeah, how have, sort of speaking to that, how has music NFTs and sort of Web3 changed your outlook? I mean, you've spoken to it a little bit over the last couple of questions, but it's like, how has it changed how you go about, number one, writing music, number two, planning your strategy for release? Have you felt kind of relieved, or have you felt like more creative than ever? Have you changed the way? Has it completely changed your outlook, or has it just refined it in a sense?
I think it's completely changed my outlook for the better. Honestly, I feel very like for the first time ever, and I don't know if it is all Web3. I think it has to do with just like timing and alignment in my personal life and growth. But for the first time ever, I feel fully confident in myself as a creative, as a writer, as a performer. I don't feel like I have to convince people to listen to me. I feel like I know who I am, and I'm still continuously like learning who I am as an artist. And I every time I write a song, I like think the next one's better than the last, and that's how I always want to live. And I think I'd be doing something wrong if I wasn't being better than I was yesterday. And so it's learning how to not like just be so mean to yourself. I think really it's like really freeing. I think the opportunity to just say what's on your mind, put out your music, connect with people, and it feels real. It doesn't feel fabricated. It doesn't feel like I have to overthink my Instagram post, my caption. Oh, I didn't get enough likes. If people not like that, like we all get to that dark place one time or another. I don't want to live there ever again. And I want to live forward, and hopefully that can change the way other people live too. Because I think we'd all be a lot more happy if we just realized that like we don't have to prove anything to anybody but ourselves. Like as long as you're just being you and you're doing what you love to do, like good shit's coming your way. And it blessings are flowing into me continuously, no matter if I'm having a good day or a bad day. We're human, but if you show up, and you're going to see something. And so Web3 has, forced me to show up because it moves so freaking fast. Like you gotta, but yeah, that's
Yeah, it's so interesting. Like even just hearing you talk about it, where music NFTs are kind of allowing us to not have to. So just sorry, even rewinding back to where everyone's sort of pitching you and saying, "Hey, why didn't your music NFT sell out?"
yeah.
I think that's an interesting dynamic that's happening where you kind of people are forgetting the creativity of the space, where it's like,
Mhm.
yeah, I don't need, just because it's for sale doesn't mean it needs to sell for me to feel good about myself.
Mhm.
Sure, that will help me, but what it's doing is telling me that my fans aren't really into that. So
Yeah,
I've got to get better, and I'm trying to be better as an artist. So shut up, let
straight
me move
up.
forward, and let me put out the next song and the next project. And it's like, okay, well, okay, the fans responded to that more. Okay, well, I kind of like doing that as well. And I just think we're
Mm.
kind of losing that a little bit, where the sellout mentality and that financial mentality is still strong. And with I feel like the moment we lose that, it'll benefit all artists involved in the space.
Oh yeah, and it'll take time. I think ever, but I think like what matters the most is it starts with you. Like what do you want to feel like when you get out of bed? Do you want to feel like shit creating music, doing what you love to do, like because someone else is making you feel that way? Like there's no reason, because what you're doing has purpose. And you never know, like that song that nobody else likes, maybe that changes someone's life around the globe that you just never knew about. And I think that's the whole purpose of why I create, honestly, why I share what I create. It's not to just be like, look at me, it's supposed to like touch someone, hopefully. And if it doesn't, like I'm still going to be creating. And if you like that, then you can be a part of that journey with me, and I'm so stoked to have you. So
I think that's a great spot to end it on there. Was there any
yeah.
other parts of you wanted to share, like whether it be upcoming projects or where to find you? Feel free to share it now, and then we'll say
Yeah,
goodbye.
absolutely. Well, I do have a few Soul Tribe spots left. If anyone wanted to go to Zora.com and check out the music marathon, there are one-on-one songs that I did during the month of February. And I also just launched my tarot crowdfund to get the whole Wake experience kickstarted. And that's really dope also. And has different tiered NFTs, 3D tarot card NFTs with little
Beautiful
snippets
art,
from the
beautiful
album.
art. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Yes, Devin Wells. Yeah, just follow me on Twitter if you want to know what's up. I tweet everything that's going through my brain.
we'll make
It's
sure to
crazy.
include all the
Yeah,
links in the show notes for you. But yeah, thank you so much, Tara. It
yeah,
was amazing.
yeah.
Great,
Oh,
great,
also
great to
you
chat.
could stream my music too under Tarot on all streaming
Streaming
platforms.
platforms, perfect.
Yeah, yeah.
thank, thank you
There's too
so
many
much.
things. Thank you.